Hello, dear friends. The City of London controls a third of the world's money, so it could be the trigger for a change in the financial system. Opinion piece. It all starts in London. Boris Johnson resigns after two ministers resign. First domino in the dominoes. End of 3 stormy years. Georgia's Guidestones destroyed. London moves a third of the world's money. Let's start. It all starts in London, according to sources. London would block all the other countries as a first domino. The financial system would collapse first in London with the activation of the London Bridge project. The resignation of two influential ministers who were seen as possible replacements for Johnson has been disastrous for the Prime Minister. The resignation of Finance and Health Ministers dealt a death blow to Johnson. The surprise resignations of Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Health Minister Sajid Javid dealt a death blow to the Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Tuesday, after two of the executive's heavyweights withdrew their support for him and criticized his lack of integrity in quotes. Boris Johnson then resigned as UK Prime Minister, faced with an avalanche of resignations from his cabinet ministers and calls for him to step down. Johnson announced his resignation as Prime Minister, ending a stormy 3 years of government marred by a succession of scandals that culminated in a rebellion by his own cabinet and a group of MPs. Johnson indicated that he is also stepping down as a leader of the Conservative Party. In quotes, it is clear that it is now the will of the Conservative Party that there should be a new leader and therefore a new Prime Minister, he said in front of the government headquarters at 10th Downing Street. He specified that he will remain at the helm of the executive until the Tories elect a new leader. The 58-year-old politician is stepping down after an avalanche of up to 60 resignations from ministers and lawmakers who pressured him to step down. Initially, he seemed determined to hold on to his position, but according to the British press, his tenure had become untenable. Boris Johnson leaves office with a juicy fortune. According to the Daily Mail, which cites data from the website Celebrity Net Worth, Boris has an estimated net worth of $2 million. The City of London is the world's most important financial district, where $2 trillion worth of financial products are bought and sold every day, a third of all the money on the planet. The fashion for office building development has meant that the residential population of this area doesn't exceed 10,000 inhabitants, but the number of people working in the area is around more than 500,000. Despite this, hotel and shopping arcades were built in the 90s, but they failed to turn the city into a haven of peace at weekends, even with closed bars and pubs. At 2019 UK government report stated that all UK airports should be closed within the next years, that beef and lamb should be banned, and that new buildings should cease. Georgia. An explosion at the center of Georgia's famous Guidestones destroyed much of the controversial granite monument, more than 6 meters high, which some call satanic. The monument was damaged by an explosive device, then demolished for safety reasons, leaving a pile of rubble. A large part of the structure was destroyed before dawn on Wednesday, when unknown individuals detonated an explosive device. The collection of grey monoliths was erected in 1980 in the middle of a large field near the town of Elberton, Georgia, just off Highway 77, and was listed as a tourist attraction. The Georgia Guidestones were inscribed with 10 guides in 8 modern languages, and a short message at the top in 4 ancient scripts. Many point to these messages as explicit guidance to reduce the population and establish a new world order. They were built and placed by a person with the pseudonym R.C. Christian in 1979, who paid for the stones and the land they occupied before disappearing, after which he was never heard from again. Today, nothing is known of its whereabouts. The sculpture was inscribed with 10 guides in 8 modern languages and a short message at the top in 4 ancient scripts. It was 6 meters high and made of granite slabs weighing a total of 100 tons. They were aligned according to astronomical criteria. Economy. The New York Stock Exchange rises as fears of a rate hike subside. Stocks and treasuries rise and the pound appreciates. Oil rises by almost $4 a barrel on tight supply. Wheat rises 4% on recession fears. Gold rises and the pint by a break on the dollar's rise. Copper jumps from 20-month lows on hopes of Chinese stimulus. Heads of world diplomacy begin to arrive in Bali for the G20 meeting. Collapsed crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital is now revealed as a massive international fraud hidden behind complex legal structures. USA. The economic slowdown is worse than expected. Treasury yields rise on expectations of a job cut. Jobless claims rise, reaching a 16-month high in June. U.S. trade deficit narrows as exports rise. Biden under fire for allowing 5 million barrels of oil to go abroad as prices hit record highs, according to The Independent. More than 5 million barrels of oil were exported to Europe and Asia last month as part of the U.S. emergency stockpile to reduce fuel prices. Blackouts are expected this summer because of increased demand for electricity from air conditioning, network experts warn. 3 Texas counties will declare a border emergency because of an unprecedented crisis. The city of Ohio declares a state of emergency. New Jersey tightens anti-gun rules after Supreme Court ruling. U.S. sues Arizona for forcing voters to show proof of citizenship. Senators call for investigation of TikTok for alleged Chinese espionage. Europe rebounds from Tuesday's declines, but the euro continues its slide. Experts believe the euro's decline will weigh on the economy. Fears of a recession shake European stock markets and the euro. Several ECB members are in favor of raising rates by more than a quarter point in July. The European Union Banking Authority plans a second round of bank capital cleanup. Wheat harvest in Europe will be smaller after hot weather. Violent protests in Macedonia against proposed European Union membership. Revolutionary sand battery developed by Finland. The search continues for missing people after an avalanche in the Italian Alps. Drought takes its toll on farmers and livestock farmers dependent on the Po River in Italy. Algeria celebrates 60 years of independence from France with a grand parade. British diplomat arrested in Iran for alleged spying and soil sampling. Social networks. Ireland moves ahead with a ban on Facebook data flows between the European Union and the US. Facebook commits a willful breach of Yemeni law as it continues to delete user accounts without legal basis, the Hamburg Higher Regional Court rules. Twitter says it deletes more than 1 million spam accounts every day. Spain. The Spanish stock market achieves its biggest rise in 3 months and exceeds 8,100 points. CaixaBank, Bankinter and Sabadell are the head of the rises in Europe this 2022 thanks to the ECB. Industrial production soars 6.5% in May, the highest rate since June 2021. Inflation affects poor households 30% more than rich ones. Iberdrola to develop 16 new renewable projects in the UK. Sudanese migrants who tried to jump the Melilla fence abandoned to their fate in Casablanca. Americas. The dollar unstoppable in Latin America with record highs in Chile and Colombia. Truth Commission recognizes sex workers murdered in Colombia. Venezuela has 236 political prisoners according to the NGO Foro Penal. UN partners to support Venezuela's economic recovery. Cuba repatriates 178 Haitian migrants who arrived on its coast from the Central Zone. Mexico's inflation accelerates to its highest level in 21 years. The Bank of Mexico vows to act forcefully to curb inflation. Migrant smuggling in Mexico generates profits of more than $600 million a year. Mexico's Public Prosecutor's Office is investigating former President Peña Nieto for movements of millions of dollars. Indigenous people condemned persecution of priests and activists in southern Mexico. The Chilean Convention concludes its constituent work with low citizen approval. The Minister of the Interior will suggest to Boric to extend the state of emergency in the south of Chile. Doubt over Argentina's energy subsidy cuts. Greenpeace, Georgieva describes her phone call with the new Argentinian minister as very good. Greenpeace warns of increasing fishing pressure in the Argentinian Sea. The Public Prosecutor's Office investigates visits by the sister-in-law of the President of Peru to the palace. The President of Ecuador appoints Pablo Arosemena as Minister of Economy. Teachers go on strike in Panama over fuel hikes and low budget. Brazil forecasts record wheat harvest of 9 million tons in 2022. The punishment for logging in the Brazilian Amazon is minimal, according to a study. AENA will invest $259.2 million to remodel Brazilian airports. China's economy is recovering, but the base is not solid, according to the Prime Minister. China's monopoly on photovoltaic equipment. More than 1 billion records were stolen in a massive breach in China. Rumors of war. Belarus threatens to attack Poland if provocations are launched. Russia attacks Snake Island, where Kiev forces try to plant their flag. The Russians focus their attacks on the Donetsk region, although, according to Kiev, with difficulty. Russia criticizes Western support for Kiev's militaristic ambitions, in quotes. Ukraine provides the dead, and Europe provides the unemployed. According to the latest statistics, the Russians have suffered some 40,000 casualties in this conflict, and they don't bat an eyelid about it. Russia's economy is more resilient than expected, according to Bloomberg. The media outlet notes that the Slavic country appears to be on track for a much shallower recession that was predicted after the start of the military operation in Ukraine. Russia takes control of the Sakhalin-2 oil and gas project, raising the stakes in its economic war with the West. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.